It's 11:17 p.m. on Thursday, March 20th, 2025. The temperature in the Arizona desert outside Tucson has dropped to 52 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough that breath mists in the moonlight. Interstate 10 cuts through the landscape like a surgical scar, its asphalt ribbon flanked by saguaro cacti that stand like silent witnesses to whatever unfolds in this empty quarter of Maricopa County. The air is so dry it cracks lips, so still you can hear the hum of high-voltage power lines a quarter mile away. DEA Special Agent Marcus Hale sits in the passenger seat of a blacked-out Ford Explorer parked in an arroyo 200 yards from the interstate. The vehicle's engine is off. No interior lights. Just the faint glow of 3 encrypted radios stacked on the center console, and the green luminescence of military-grade night vision binoculars pressed against his face. Through the lenses, the world is rendered in shades of phosphorescent green. He's watching a single set of taillights 2 miles out on the highway, tracking a semi-truck that's been under surveillance for the past 47 minutes. Static crackles in his earpiece. The voice is tight, controlled, female. Eagle 1, this is Raven. We've got a problem. Courier's on the line with his handler. He's rerouting. Repeat, he's rerouting. 2 exits early instead of target zone. Hale's jaw tightens. His hand moves to the radio transmit button. Raven, confirm. Which exit? Exit 133, West Tucson Road. That puts him directly into the warehouse sector we've been monitoring. Hale exhales slowly. In the back seat, his partner, Agent Carla Ruiz, leans forward. That's not the plan. That's our secondary surveillance site. I know, Hale says. He keys the mic again. All units, this is Eagle 1. Target is inbound to secondary location. Repeat. Warehouse at 1423 West Honeysuckle Lane is now live. Adjust positions. Nobody moves until I give the word. What Agent Marcus Hale doesn't know yet, what none of the 22 federal agents positioned across 3 counties know, is that this single wrong turn, this one misread text message, is about to expose something far more dangerous than a drug shipment. The Sinaloa Cartel's Arizona chemical precursor pipeline is about to flood into federal hands. 18 tons of precursor chemicals, 67 cartel operatives, and a betrayal that reaches all the way back into the halls of the Department of Homeland Security itself. Among the men about to be arrested is a chemical engineer who once signed federal paychecks. A man who knows the system because he helped build it. The truck, a battered freightliner with Sonora plates and rust eating through the wheel wells, lumbers off the exit ramp toward West Tucson Road. Inside the cab, the driver, 31-year-old Javier Morales from Hermosillo, squints at the screen of his burner phone, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cold night air. The text message glows. Change of plans. Exit 133 instead of 135. Proceed directly to warehouse. He types back. Confirm 133? The response is immediate. Yes. Go now. Javier mutters a prayer and downshifts. What he doesn't know, what he can't know, is that the message came through a compromised phone, that federal analysts have been reading every word for 6 weeks, and that his confusion about the exit numbers is about to trigger the largest cartel takedown in Arizona history. 2 miles away, Marcus Hale watches through his night vision binoculars as the truck's taillights disappear down the exit ramp. He lowers the binos and looks at Ruiz. It's happening, he says quietly. Call it in. Full tactical alert. We breach at my signal. The die is cast. Marcus Anthony Hale, 42 years old as of January 14, 2025. 6 feet 1 inch tall, 195 pounds, with the wiry, functional build of someone who runs 5 miles every morning before sunrise and does pull-ups in his garage until his hands blister. Close-cropped black hair showing distinguished gray at the temples. The kind of gray that makes him look seasoned rather than old. Hazel eyes that colleagues describe as constantly scanning. The kind of restless gaze that catalogs exits and assesses threats even in safe rooms. A faint white scar runs from his left ear down to his jawline, courtesy of a 2018 raid in Nogales, where a cartel sicario got close with a box cutter before Marcus put him on the ground. Tonight he wears what he always wears on operations. Off-the-rack khaki tactical pants from a surplus store, scuffed Timberland boots with steel toes, and a faded navy blue DEA polo shirt under a black tactical vest loaded with level 4 ceramic plates rated to stop rifle rounds. No wedding ring. There hasn't been one since 2019, when the divorce papers arrived via certified mail while he was running surveillance on a stash house in Mesa. Marcus was born on January 14, 1983 in Yuma, Arizona, a border town where the concept of borderline is literal and existential. His father, Robert Hale, spent 32 years with U.S. Customs and Border Protection, rising to the rank of supervisory agent before retiring in 2015. His mother, Teresa Hale, taught English as a second language at Yuma High School for 29 years. Marcus grew up in a working-class neighborhood where half the families had ties to law enforcement, and the other half had relatives on the other side of the border. It taught him early that the world wasn't black and white, but rather a complex gradient of survival and choice. Dinner table conversations in the Hale household revolved around casework. His father would come home with stories about mules swallowing balloon-wrapped heroin, about stash houses rigged with tripwires and booby traps, about the tunnels under Nogales equipped with rail systems and ventilation. "Eyes open, son," Robert would say, pointing his fork for emphasis over plates of machaca and eggs. "The cartels aren't stupid. They're corporations. They hire engineers and accountants. Treat them like the professionals they are." Marcus lettered in wrestling at Yuma High School 152-pound weight class, with a record of 47 wins and 11 losses over 3 varsity seasons. He graduated in 2001, spent 2 years at Arizona Western College studying criminal justice, then applied to the DEA. Accepted into the training academy at Quantico in 2003, he finished second in his class of 47 recruits. His psychological evaluation noted exceptional situational awareness, high tolerance for ambiguity, strong ethical framework with pragmatic application. Translation: he could make the hard calls without losing sleep, but he wouldn't cross the lines that mattered. First posting, Phoenix Field Division, 2003. Within 4 years, he'd worked his way onto the Southwest Border Task Force, a multi-agency unit specializing in chemical diversion and precursor interdiction. His first major case came in 2012, Operation Pipeline Breaker, a 16-month investigation into a Sinaloa front company importing ephedrine under the guise of pharmaceutical distribution. Marcus's surveillance work identified the pattern. His analysis cracked the shell companies, and the resulting raid seized 4.2 tons of ephedrine worth $28 million on the black market. 14 arrests, 2 convictions overturned on appeal, 12 still serving time. His service record reads like a highlight reel of America's losing war on drugs. 127 operations led or co-led between 2007 and 2025. 312 cartel associates apprehended. Estimated street value of seizures, $1.4 billion. 0 agent casualties under his direct command. A statistic he thinks about every single day, because he knows how easily it could have been different. What drives Marcus Hale? Ask him directly and he'll give you the official answer. Duty, service, protection of American communities from poison disguised as powder. But spend time with him. Watch how he stares at case files until 2 in the morning in his 1-bedroom apartment off Central Avenue. Listen to how his voice changes when he talks about Operation Juarez intervention, and you'll understand. Marcus is driven by ghosts. June 17, 2014. Joint operation with Mexican federales near Ciudad Juarez, targeting a Sinaloa safe house. Intelligence suggested 3 guards and a mid-level accountant. The raid found 17 sicarios and a weapons cache that included 2 .50 caliber rifles. During the firefight, a rooftop sniper zeroed in on Marcus as he cleared a doorway. His partner, DEA Special Agent Elena Vasquez, saw the laser dots settle on his chest. She stepped in front of him. The .556mm round punched through her tactical vest at the seam point, collapsed her left lung, and lodged in her spine at the T7 vertebra. Marcus carried her 3 miles to the extraction point, through narrow streets and hostile fire, her blood soaking through his uniform. She died on the medevac helicopter before they reached the border. She was 29 years old, from the same Yuma neighborhood where Marcus grew up, the daughter of a Border Patrol agent who'd worked with Marcus's father. They'd been dating for 8 months. Not officially, fraternization rules, but they'd talked about what they'd do after retirement. A house in Sedona. Maybe kids, maybe a quiet life. Elena's last words, "Finish it, Marcus," for the line. Meaning, The border, the mission, the fight. Marcus has replayed those words approximately 8,000 times in the decade since. They're the reason he turned down the promotion to HQ desk duty in 2016. They're the reason he's still in Phoenix, still running operations, still chasing cartels that regenerate faster than they can be cut down. Current salary, GS-13. Step 7 on the federal pay scale, $112,000 base plus 25% hazard differential for border operations. Total take-home after taxes and mandatory contributions, $93,400 annually. He lives in a 780-square-foot one-bedroom apartment in a complex built in 1987, pays $1,950 monthly rent, drives a 2016 Toyota Tacoma with 187,000 miles, and a cracked windshield he keeps meaning to replace. His furniture consists of a couch bought on Craigslist, a kitchen table from IKEA, and a bed frame he assembled drunk after the divorce. The walls are mostly bare except for a single framed photo. Marcus and Elena at a shooting range, both grinning. Targets in the background showing perfect center mass groupings. Psychological profile. The DEA's mandatory post-Juarez therapy sessions lasted 18 months, concluding in December 2015 with clearance to return to full duty. Diagnosis: post-traumatic stress disorder, moderate, with hypervigilance and intrusive memories. Treatment: cognitive behavioral therapy, no medication after the first 6 months. Current status: managed. Symptoms persist but don't impair function. He checks mirrors 17 times on a 10-mile drive. He averages 4.2 hours of sleep per night, tracked obsessively via a phone app. He doesn't drink, hasn't since 2016, when he realized he was going through a bottle of bourbon every 3 days. Personal life, sparse by design. His younger sister, Rebecca, lives in Tempe, works as a pediatric nurse, has 2 sons aged 9 and 7. Marcus sees them quarterly, brings gifts, plays the fun uncle role, then retreats. His ex-girlfriend Lisa, a Maricopa County prosecutor, ended their relationship in October 2022 with the line, "You're married to the badge, Marcus. I'm tired of being the mistress." She wasn't wrong. Current romantic situation, none. Current companionship: a 3-year-old rescue pit bull mix named Scout, brindlecoat, 47 pounds, who sleeps at the foot of Marcus's bed and perks her ears at every sound. Marcus coaches youth soccer on weekends. Under 12 boys team, the Glendale Warriors. He specializes in goalkeeper training, teaching kids to read the play before it breaks, to position themselves not where the ball is, but where it's going to be. Anticipation beats reaction, he tells them. It's a lesson that applies to more than soccer. The internal conflict that defines Marcus, justice as addiction. He's been offered exit ramps. In 2021, a private security firm in Scottsdale offered him $178,000 annually to run corporate threat assessment. In 2023, the Phoenix Police Department wanted him to head their narcotics division, with better hours and a pension that would let him retire at 55. He turned down both. Why? Because the cartels don't retire, and neither can he. Because every shipment he stops represents lives saved, overdose deaths prevented, families spared the grief, and because stopping is the same as forgetting Elena, and he's not ready to do that. Maybe he never will be. Tonight, March 20th, 2025, marks 11 years to the day since Elena died in his arms. Marcus doesn't mark anniversaries consciously, doesn't light candles or visit graves, but his body knows. His gut knows. This operation, codenamed Dust Devil, feels like something final. Either closure or ignition. He can't tell which. The day begins unremarkably. March 20th, 2025, Thursday. Phoenix wakes to clear skies and a forecasted high of 73 degrees. Morning commuters jam Interstate 10 in the usual patterns. At 1423 West Honeysuckle Lane in Tolleson, an address that doesn't appear on Google Maps with any particular detail, a warehouse sits quiet in an industrial park surrounded by auto body shops, defunct manufacturing plants, and vacant lots choked with desert scrub. The warehouse is owned by Desert Chem Solutions LLC, a Delaware corporation with 0 employees on official payroll, registered to a P.O. box in Wilmington, and linked to a web of shell companies that trace back to a law firm in Panama City. To any casual observer, the building looks abandoned. Corrugated steel walls fading to rust, a few broken windows covered with plywood, a parking lot cracked and sprouting weeds. But look closer, which federal agents have been doing for 6 weeks, and you notice details. Fresh tire tracks in the dust, security cameras mounted under eaves, their lenses clean and operational, motion sensors along the roofline, a loading dock with recently oiled hydraulic lifts. Inside, at 8:47 a.m. on March 20th, forklifts beep as they maneuver pallets stacked with industrial drums. The labels read methylbenzene solvent, industrial grade, handle with care. Beneath the labels, the contents tell a different story. 18 tons of chemical precursors including piperonyl methylenedioxy, phenyl 2-nitropropene, and acetic anhydride. Enough raw material to produce approximately 42 million fentanyl pills. Street value, if sold in retail quantities, $480 million. Wholesale value to distribution networks, $180 million. Human cost if distributed, an estimated 1-200 overdose deaths based on current lethality rates. The operation is orchestrated by Rafael El Cuervo Mendoza, 51 years old, born in Culiacan, Sinaloa, a mid-level but highly effective logistics coordinator for the Sinaloa Cartel's Arizona territory. El Cuervo, the Crow, earned his nickname for his paranoia and tendency to watch everything from a distance. He's never been arrested, never been photographed by law enforcement, exists only as a voice on wiretaps and a name in intelligence briefs. He's shifted the cartel's precursor supply chain north to Arizona to evade increasing competition from the Jalisco New Generation cartel in traditional border zones. The federal task force arrayed against him represents a bureaucratic miracle. 12 DEA agents, 5 Homeland Security Investigation Special Agents, 3 Phoenix Police Department SWAT officers, and 2 ATF specialists, all coordinated under a single operational command. Getting this many agencies to cooperate takes either a massive threat or a persuasive leader. Marcus Hale is both. Supervisory Special Agent Carla Ruiz, 38 years old, 5 feet 7 inches, Latina from South Phoenix, former Marine Corps intelligence analyst, mother of twin boys aged 10, serves as Marcus's second-in-command. They've worked together since 2016, a partnership built on competence and mutual respect rather than friendship. Ruiz handles the technical side, wiretaps, surveillance technology, digital forensics. Over the past 47 days, she's intercepted and analyzed 2,847 communications between cartel operatives, mapping the network with the precision of an epidemiologist tracking disease vectors. El Cuervo talks like a CEO, Ruiz told Marcus during a briefing 3 days ago. Revenue projections, supply chain optimization, personnel management. He's running a Fortune 500 company that happens to traffic death. The morning of March 20th proceeds with choreographed precision. At 6:15 a.m., Marcus runs his usual 5 miles through the desert preserve near his apartment, Scout trotting beside him. At 7:30 a.m., task force briefing at the DEA Phoenix Field Division office on North Central Avenue. Coffee in styrofoam cups, donuts from the QT on the corner, tactical maps spread across conference tables. Marcus stands at the head of the room, laser pointer tracing routes on a satellite image. Timing is everything, he says. Intelligence indicates the main shipment arrives at the warehouse between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. tomorrow morning, March 21st. 18 tons divided across 3 trucks. El Cuervo will have his full team on site. We estimate 60 to 70 individuals. Security will be tight but not military grade. Most will be armed with pistols, maybe a dozen rifles. Our advantage is surprise and overwhelming force. A Phoenix PD SWAT sergeant, Mike Chen, raises his hand. Rules of engagement? Non-lethal preferred, Marcus says. Flashbangs, tasers, batons. But if they present lethal threat, we respond accordingly. I want everyone going home tonight. By 10 a.m., drone surveillance is active. 2 Predator-class UAVs on loan from CBP, equipped with thermal and high-definition cameras, orbiting at 12,000 feet. The feed shows 14 individuals rotating shifts around the warehouse, guards carrying AK pattern rifles, their movements coordinated by handheld radios. By 4 p.m., ground teams are moving into position. Unmarked explorers parked in arroyos, agents camouflaged in desert scrub, SWAT in dry washes with sightlines on every entrance. Border Patrol's air support unit has a helicopter on 15-minute standby at the Glendale Municipal Airport. Marcus's state of mind as afternoon becomes evening, edged, focused, cycling through contingencies. He double-checks equipment. Glock 22 with 3 magazines, tactical vest, radio, zip ties, trauma kit. He calls his sister, tells her he loves her, doesn't say why. He feeds Scout extra treats and texts his neighbor to check on her if he doesn't come home by morning. He doesn't expect trouble, but Elena didn't either. The antagonists, meanwhile, are preparing their own choreography. Javier Morales, the courier, is 29 years old, from Hermosillo, Sonora, a third-generation mule whose grandfather trafficked marijuana across the border in the 1970s. Javier has made 5 prior runs for the cartel, earning $8,000 per trip, enough to support his wife and 2 daughters, enough to pay for his mother's diabetes medication, not enough to escape the life. Tonight he's driving the lead truck, a freightliner loaded with 6 tons of precursors disguised as cleaning supplies. Behind him, the network sprawls. 67 cartel members inbound to Tolleson from safe houses across Phoenix, Tucson, and Nogales. They include sicarios, hardened enforcers with military training and body counts in double digits. They include halcones, lookouts, and spotters, usually younger, less experienced, the expendable front line. They include chemists who understand molecular structures better than most university professors. And then there's Dr. Elias Navarro, 45 years old, the ghost in the machine. Tucson native, born and raised in a middle-class neighborhood, graduated from University of Arizona with a PhD in organic chemistry in 2007. Hired by the Department of Homeland Security in 2012 to work in their chemical and explosives analysis unit, analyzing precursor chemicals seized at the border, developing detection protocols, training agents on molecular signatures. For 6 years, he was a model federal employee, clearance level secret, performance reviews consistently, exceeds expectations, published author in peer-reviewed journals. Then came the gambling. Las Vegas initially, weekend trips that became weekly trips. Poker, blackjack, sports betting. By 2018, he was $240,000 in debt to casino credit lines and private lenders. The cartel noticed. They always notice. They approached him not with threats but with opportunity. We'll clear your debt, all of it. You just need to consult on some chemistry problems. Navarro told himself it was temporary, told himself he'd pay them back and disappear. But cartel debts don't get repaid. They compound. By 2019, he'd defected completely, fired from DHS after an internal investigation found irregularities in his work, evidence that went missing, detection protocols that failed too consistently. Now he's the cartel's ace. His formulas evade detection 92% of the time. His knowledge of federal procedures makes him invaluable, and his moral collapse is complete. Tonight, Navarro will oversee the unloading personally, ensuring quality control, managing the chemists. He has no idea that his old DHS badge photo sits in Marcus Hale's briefing packet, flagged with a red stamp, high-value target. The convergence builds like a thunderstorm gathering ions. By 10 p.m., all federal units are in position, running comms checks, syncing watches. Marcus sits in the Explorer with Ruiz, both of them silent, watching the warehouse through night vision. The temperature drops. The wind picks up, carrying dust across the desert. Marcus thinks about Elena, about Scout waiting at home, about the 67 men who don't know what's coming. At 11:02 p.m., the first truck is spotted on I-10, heading east. Ruiz keys the surveillance net. Raven to all units. Package 1 is inbound. ETA 23 minutes. At 11:17 p.m., everything changes. Javier's burner phone chirps. The text message appears. Change of plans. Exit 133 instead of 135. He types back, confused. Receives confirmation. He takes the exit 2 miles early, directly toward the surveillance site. Marcus watches the taillights veer off the highway. He looks at Ruiz. She looks back. Neither speaks for 3 full seconds. Then Marcus keys the radio. All units. Target is inbound hot. Repeat. Target is inbound to our position. Adjust for immediate breach scenario. Stand by for my signal. The storm is here. 11:37 p.m. Javier Morales guides the Freightliner off West Tolleson Road and into the parking lot of 1423 West Honeysuckle Lane. The truck's engine growling low, suspension creaking under the weight of 6 tons of drums. His hands are sweaty on the steering wheel despite the cold. Something feels wrong. The exit change, the cryptic texts, the way his handler's voice sounded tense on the last call. He's been doing this long enough to trust his gut, and his gut is screaming. He kills the engine. The sudden silence is profound. Just wind rattling chain link and the distant hum of the interstate. He lights a cigarette with shaking hands, takes a long drag, exhales smoke that hangs in the cold air. Through the windshield he sees the warehouse, dark except for a single yellow security light over the loading dock, shadows moving inside. From those shadows emerges Dr. Elias Navarro, clipboard in hand, flanked by 2 sicarios carrying AK-47s. Navarro is dressed incongruously. Khaki pants, a polo shirt, a lightweight windbreaker. He looks like a suburban dad, not a cartel chemist. He approaches the driver's side door, waves Javier down. Javier climbs out, drops the cigarette, crushes it under his boot. "I'm here," he says in Spanish. "You're 2 hours early," Navarro replies, also in Spanish, his voice tight. "Explain." Jefe said adjust the route. Traffic. He texted new instructions. Navarro's eyes narrow. "Show me." Javier pulls out the burner phone, hands it over. Navarro scrolls through the messages, his frown deepening. He keys his own radio. "This is Alpha. We have early arrival. Double the guard. Check the perimeter. Something feels wrong." The words hang in the air. The sicarios tense, grips tightening on their weapons. One of them, a scarred man in his 30s named Hector, scans the darkness beyond the fence. "You think federales?" "I think," Navarro says slowly, "that timing is everything, and this timing is wrong." 2 miles away, Marcus Hale listens to the exchange through real-time translation software, the Spanish converted to English text scrolling across a laptop screen in the Explorer. Ruiz whispers, "They're spooked." "Not spooked enough to run," Marcus says. "They'll reinforce and proceed. We breach when the next truck arrives." More targets in one place. At 11:52 p.m., the second truck arrives. A box truck with California plates, driven by a man named Luis, 43, a cartel veteran with 17 years of service. Behind him, in a black Escalade, ride 9 more operatives, 6 sicarios and 3 chemists. They unload duffel bags heavy with weapons, Glock 17s, Beretta 92s, 2 Mossberg shotguns, ammunition in boxes. Navarro briefs them in rapid Spanish. 18 tons to Los Angeles by noon tomorrow. We load fast, 3 trucks, convoy formation. The federales are blind, my protocols guarantee it. There's pride in his voice. The arrogance of the insider who believes he's beaten the system. The irony is visceral. Navarro's detection protocols were compromised 6 weeks ago when Marcus's team flipped an informant named Gabriel Reyes, a low-level cartel accountant arrested in Tucson on money laundering charges. Reyes gave up the shipment, the routes, the players, everything. Navarro's formulas flagged the precursors perfectly, for the DEA, not the cartel. Inside the warehouse, activity intensifies. Forklifts roll, pallets shift, drums are opened for quality testing. A young chemist named Carlos dips a test strip into a barrel, checks the color change, nods approval. Purity 94%, good to ship. Outside, the perimeter guard rotates. A halcone named Miguel walks the fence line with a flashlight, scanning the desert. The beam sweeps across an arroyo, pauses on what might be a glint of metal or might be a piece of trash. Miguel squints, takes 2 steps forward. In that arroyo, Agent Torres freezes, pressed flat against the dirt, praying his rifle scope didn't catch the light. The flashlight beam sweeps past. Miguel shrugs, keeps walking. At 12:02 a.m. March 21st, the trap begins its final contraction. The third truck arrives, another Freightliner, this one driven by a man named Paco, 51, a grandfather doing one last run to pay for his granddaughter's quinceañera. He backs up to the loading dock, air brakes hissing. Inside the operations van, Ruiz monitors 16 different feeds, thermal imaging showing heat signatures clustered around the trucks, Audio intercepts picking up snatches of Spanish conversation. Drone footage showing the full tactical picture. She counts bodies. 67 visible, more possibly inside. Marcus keys his radio. All units, target package is complete. 60+ hostiles confirmed, weapons visible. Breach on my mark. Non-lethal first. Escalate as needed. SWAT, you have green light for entry points Alpha and Charlie. Air support, be ready for runners. The confirmations come back in sequence. SWAT actual copy. Air 27 copy. HSI team copy. 22 voices, 22 professionals, all waiting for one word. At 12:14 a.m. the trigger. Javier's phone buzzes again. He pulls it out, reads the message. Abort. Feds inbound. Scatter now. His face goes white. He shows it to the nearest Sicario, who shows it to Navarro. Navarro reads it, and for 3 full seconds, his world collapses. His mind races through possibilities. Compromise, betrayal, trap. He grabs his own radio, shouts, Traición, muévanse, ahora. Ruiz hears it through the intercept, her eyes going wide. Marcus, they're about to scatter. They know. Marcus doesn't hesitate. He keys the radio, voice calm and absolute. All units breach now. Execute, execute, execute. Floodlights ignite. 6 portable stadium lights mounted on telescoping poles blaze to life simultaneously, turning night into day. 3.2 million lumens washing across the warehouse parking lot. 67 cartel operatives freeze like deer, hands rising to shield their eyes, pupils contracting in shock. Federal agents, DA on the ground, al suelo, ahora. The voice comes from megaphones mounted on tactical vehicles that seem to materialize from the darkness. Engines roar. The Explorer. Marcus is in surges forward. Ruiz driving, closing the distance at 50 miles per hour. From 3 sides, the net contracts, agents emerging from arroyos, SWAT fast roping from a suddenly appeared helicopter, tactical vehicles blocking exits. For 1 frozen second nobody moves, then chaos. A Sicario raises an AK-47. The decision is made in synaptic time. Threat, weapon, intent. A SWAT sniper 400 yards away makes a judgment call. The rifle cracks once. The Sicario drops, weapon clattering. That single shot breaks the paralysis. Cartel operatives scatter like startled birds. Some run for the warehouse, some for vehicles, some simply run into the desert. Weapons appear, pistols drawn, safeties clicked off. Federal agents close in, shields raised, voices overlapping. Drop the weapon. Suelta el arma! Marcus is out of the Explorer before it fully stops, moving with his Glock 22 in a 2-handed grip, scanning for targets, for Navarro specifically. The chemist is 30 yards away, frozen in the flood of light, clipboard still in hand like a shield. Their eyes meet across the chaos. Recognition flickers. Navarro knows exactly who Marcus is. They've never met, but he's seen the briefing photos, knows the reputation. Marcus sees the calculation in Navarro's eyes. Run, fight, or surrender. Navarro runs. Marcus pursues. The battle begins. Engagement number 1. Before we continue, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments. This story happened in Phoenix, but it could have been anywhere along the border. El Paso, San Diego, Tucson, Laredo. These operations play out in the shadows while we sleep, and I want to know where this channel reaches. I want to hear from you throughout this story. Are you law enforcement? Border state resident? Someone who's watched the drug war unfold? Tell me in the comments. 12:15 a.m. Marcus's mind doesn't think in words during moments like this. It processes in layers of tactical data, threat assessment matrices, probability calculations refined by 22 years of fieldwork and 100 raids. The cognitive shift is immediate and total. Civilian mode to operator mode in the span of a heartbeat. Layer 1, target identification. 67 hostile individuals now dispersing across a 3-acre industrial lot. 28 visible moving toward warehouse interior. Clustered, confused, some armed. 19 holding position at the truck perimeter, using vehicles as cover, definitely armed. 20 visible on foot heading for the fence line in open desert. Weapons count: 14 AK pattern rifles confirmed by silhouette, 22 pistols estimated by posture and movement, 4 shotguns glimpsed during initial freeze. Treat all as armed until proven otherwise. Layer 2. Environmental assessment. 3 warehouse roll-up doors, each large enough for a truck, currently closed but chain secured. Weak points, easily breached. 2 personnel doors on the east wall, 1 south wall, all metal with crash bar locks. Rear loading dock accessible via hydraulic platform, currently elevated, provides high ground advantage to anyone holding it. Desert scrub beyond the fence offers concealment but limited cover. Sprint distance to effective hiding range is 40 to 60 yards depending on speed and fitness level. Parking lot is open ground. Fatal funnel. No cover except vehicles. Layer 3. Civilian calculation. 0. This is an industrial zone at 12:15 a.m. on a Thursday night. Nearest occupied building is a truck stop 3/4 of a mile east. Nearest residence is 1.2 miles south. Evacuation orders went out 6 hours ago to the 3 businesses within the potential hot zone. Civilian casualties, probability near 0. This is the only reason Marcus authorized the breach. He will not risk innocence, not after Juarez. Layer 4. Team status. 22 agents in position. Phoenix PD SWAT. 3 officers, tactical entry specialists positioned at warehouse alpha entrance, north side. DEA forward team. 8 agents including Marcus and Ruiz, distributed in a loose perimeter. HSI support, 5 agents, secondary perimeter, focused on runners. ATF. 2 specialists hanging back for explosives assessment. 18 tons of chemicals present potential for catastrophic secondary explosion if someone does something stupid with a cigarette or muzzle flash. Air support. Border Patrol Eurocopter circling at 800 feet, thermal imaging painting everything. Layer 5. Mission objective hierarchy. Primary. Secure chemical precursors. Destruction or loss unacceptable. Secondary. Apprehend Rafael El Cuervo Mendoza or his designated representative on site. Tertiary. Apprehend Dr. Elias Navarro specifically. High-value target due to insider knowledge and corruption implications. Quaternary. Maximum arrests. Minimum bloodshed. Marcus's training, Quantico DEA Advanced Tactical School, 3 tours with Joint Task Force West running operations in cartel territories, overlays this data with muscle memory and conditioned responses. His body knows what to do before his conscious mind articulates the order. But there's always a moment, a single crystalline second, where the human part of him looks at the tactical part and asks, "Is this right?" Flashback flickers unbidden, Elena Vasquez crumpling, the wet sound of a bullet punching through Kevlar, her eyes meeting his with surprise and pain and something else. Determination? Acceptance? He never figured out which. He carried her 3 miles. 3 miles. His shoulders still remember the weight. Not again. The thought is a prayer and a vow. Not one agent dies tonight. Not on my watch. Moral calculation. These 67 men made choices. They chose to traffic chemicals that kill teenagers in Minneapolis and grandmothers in Detroit. They chose to join an organization that dissolves bodies in acid and hangs corpses from overpasses as messages. Sympathy? No. Humanity? Yes. Marcus doesn't hate them. He just needs them in cells where they can't hurt anyone. Risk assessment. If they scatter now, the operation becomes a manhunt across 600 square miles of desert and suburb. Hours turn to days. Trails go cold. Cartel lawyers materialize. Evidence chains break down. Recoveries drop from 67 to maybe 20. Unacceptable. If they fight here, casualties become probable. His team has armor, training, and overwhelming firepower. But desperate men with rifles can do tremendous damage. One lucky shot through a visor gap. One ricochet finding an artery. The odds favor the feds, but odds aren't certainties. The decision crystallizes. Fast, violent, overwhelming response. Hit them so hard and so fast they don't have time to organize resistance. Shock and awe, not in the military sense, but in the psychological sense. Break their will before they can solidify their courage. Physical preparation. Subtle, but comprehensive. Marcus adjusts his tactical vest, level 4 ceramic plates front and back, rated to stop 7.62 Q 39mm rounds at point-blank range. He checks his Glock 22, 15 rounds of 40 S&W hollow points in the magazine, one chambered, safety off because Glocks don't have manual safeties. 2 spare magazines on his belt, 15 rounds each, 46 rounds total. Pray he doesn't need them all. Radio clipped to his left shoulder, volume max, earpiece secure. Flashlight mounted under the Glock's barrel, 800 lumens, thumb switch. Zip ties on his belt, 20 of them, heavy duty, rated for 300 pounds of pulling force. Trauma kit in vest pocket, quick clot gauze, tourniquet, chest seal. He's never had to use his own kit. Twice he's used it on others. 3 times if you count Elena, but the kit didn't help then. He signals Ruiz with hand gestures, "You take chem wing." She nods, understanding immediately. Ruiz will lead the warehouse breach, securing the precursors and any chemists inside. Marcus will hunt Navarro. High-value target takes priority. Personal? Maybe a little. The idea that a federal agent defected to the cartels, that someone who swore the same oath Marcus did chose money over mission. It's acid in his gut. Ruiz signals back, eyes on. Meaning, watch your back, don't be a hero, come home tonight. They've had this conversation 100 times without words. She has twin boys, he has a dog. They both have obligations to survive. The helicopter overhead drops lower. Its rotor wash kicking up dust devils, its thermal camera feeding live data to every screen in every tactical vehicle. The pilot's voice crackles. Air 27 to Eagle 1. I have 17 runners heading east toward the interstate. HSI intercept? Marcus keys the radio. Eagle 1 copy. HSI, you are cleared to intercept runners. Non-lethal, unless they present. Air 27, maintain overwatch. HSI actual copy. Moving to intercept. 27, maintaining station. Marcus exhales slowly. Combat breathing, 4 counts in, hold 4, 4 counts out. Heart rate drops from 118 to 94 beats per minute. Peripheral vision sharpens. Time dilates slightly, a neurological quirk he's experienced since his first firefight. Everything slows down just enough to process. He looks at Navarro, who's standing 40 yards away next to a chemical drum, frozen like a museum exhibit. The corrupt chemist, circa 2025. Their eyes lock. Navarro's face shows the calculation of a cornered animal. Run into the warehouse. Limited exits, easily surrounded. Run into the desert, exposure, helicopter tracking. Or fight, certain death or capture. Navarro chooses to run. He drops the clipboard, turns, sprints toward the warehouse personnel door. Marcus moves. Not a sprint, economical, a tactical advance. The Glock tracking in sync with his eye movement. 20 years of muscle memory, 40 yards separating them. Navarro's fast. Fear is a hell of a stimulant, but Marcus is faster and has the angle. Federal agent, stop, alto. Navarro doesn't stop. He reaches the door, yanks it open, disappears inside. The door swings shut. Marcus is 10 yards behind, closing fast. Ruiz is somewhere to his left, shouting commands in Spanish. Gunfire cracks from the south side. Small arms, pistols, SWAT returning fire with precise 3-round bursts. Marcus reaches the door, doesn't pause, doesn't stack up, doesn't wait for backup because Navarro has 10 seconds head start, and that's 9 seconds too many. He crashes through the door, Glock up, flashlight on, entering the warehouse. Darkness, chemical smell, sharp, acrid, benzene derivatives and solvents. Rows of drums stacked 8 feet high, creating corridors. Footsteps echoing. Navarro's running footfalls, panicked, uneven. Marcus pursues. The chase is on. Inside the warehouse, the world transforms into a vertical maze. Industrial shelving units rise 20 feet to a corrugated metal ceiling, stacked with drums, pallets of chemicals in 50-gallon containers, equipment that could be legitimate manufacturing supplies or could be mobile drug labs. The space smells like a chemistry building, but darker. Something sweet and rotten underneath the solvent sharpness. Marcus moves in controlled bursts. Scan, advance, scan, advance. His flashlight beam cuts through the darkness, creating harsh shadows. Every stack of drums is potential concealment. Every corner is a fatal funnel. His breathing is steady, controlled, making minimal noise. He listens. Navarro's footsteps have stopped. Hiding or setting up ambush. Doctor. Navarro. Marcus's voice bounces off metal walls. There's no exit. You know how this ends. Come out, hands visible, and we do this easy. Silence. Then from somewhere deeper in the warehouse, Navarro's voice, ragged with adrenaline. You don't understand. I didn't have a choice. They were going to kill my family. Marcus doesn't respond immediately. He's triangulating by sound, moving toward the voice. Then testify. Witness protection. But running makes you guilty of everything. You think witness protection works against the Sinaloa Cartel? A bitter laugh. You think I'd last 6 months? Marcus is 20 feet from the voice now, closing the angle. You lasted 6 years working for them. You helped poison American kids. You don't get to play victim. Crash of metal. Navarro kicking over a drum as he moves. Marcus pivots, tracks the sound. The drum rolls, leaking clear liquid that spreads across concrete. Acetic anhydride, probably. Reactive, not immediately dangerous unless ignited, but this whole building is one spark from catastrophe. Careful, Marcus shouts. You spill the wrong thing in here, we both die. Maybe that's the best option. Navarro's voice is closer now, maybe 10 feet separated by a shelving unit. Marcus edges around the corner. Slice the pie, tactical movement. Never expose more than necessary. His flashlight beam swings across empty space, catches a flicker of movement, adjusts. Navarro lunges from behind a pallet, not attacking but fleeing, coat trailing. Marcus pivots, lunges, his left hand catching the fabric. Navarro jerks, the coat tears, but Marcus has grip. He yanks, pulls Navarro off balance. Marcus Hale steps into the kind of moment most agents train for but hope they never meet. Navarro's hand comes up, not with a gun but with a cheap burner phone screen glowing in the dark. His voice cracks as he shouts, "One call and they kill my daughter. She's 17. She lives in Tucson. They know where she goes to school." The warehouse hum fades under the weight of that sentence. Marcus doesn't lower his Glock. His stance doesn't change. "Put the phone down," he says, each word measured. Slowly. Navarro's eyes shine, wild and glassy. "You don't have kids, do you, Agent Hale? You don't know what this is." Marcus thinks of another night, another border city, another person dying because of a choice. Elena. Blood on concrete. "I know what it's like to watch someone die because of what we decide," he answers. "Put the phone down." For 3 long seconds they hang there in a frozen tableau. A federal agent with a pistol, a cartel chemist with a phone, and a life in the balance that isn't even in the room. Then the outside world slams back in. From beyond the warehouse walls comes the ripping sound of sustained automatic fire. AK-47s cycling hard and fast, the distinctive metallic crack of Kalashnikovs under pressure. Somewhere on the south perimeter, someone has made the decision not to surrender. The noise shatters Navarro's focus. The phone slips from his hand and bounces on the concrete. Marcus moves before it settles, closing the gap, driving Navarro face first to the floor. Knee between his shoulder blades, one wrist, then the other, folded back and cinched in a plastic zip tie with practiced efficiency. "Elias Navarro," Marcus says, voice low but clear. "You're under arrest for conspiracy to distribute controlled substance precursors, corruption of a federal officer, and about 40 other charges you're going to hear in court. My daughter," Navarro coughs against the floor. "We'll protect her. That's the job." Marcus hauls him upright with a fist in the torn windbreaker and keys his radio with the other hand. "Eagle 1 to all units. High-value target secured. Warehouse interior partially secure. What's the status on those shots outside?" Ruiz's reply comes back tight, over a background of shouting and distant gunfire. Multiple hostiles engaging from the south perimeter. SWAT is suppressing. Ramirez took a round through the arm. Non-critical. They're pushing hard for the vehicles, trying to break out. Marcus doesn't hesitate. He drags Navarro toward the exit, the chemist stumbling to keep his feet. "Negative on a breakout," Marcus snaps into the mic. "Collapse the perimeter. Box them in. Air unit, I need eyes on anyone making a run for the lot. The helicopter pilot's voice cuts in, cool and clipped. 2-7 copies. Visual on 3 hostiles moving toward a black Escalade northwest corner. Long guns visible. Hit them with the spotlight, Marcus orders. Pin them, no one leaves this lot. 2-7 engaging now. They burst out of the warehouse into a scene that looks like a crime thriller brought to life. Floodlights bleach the parking lot in harsh white, throwing long shadows off every truck and barrel. Muzzle flashes strobe from behind vehicle engines and concrete barriers. The air tastes like cordite and dust, chemicals and desert grit ground together. Somewhere to the south, a man is screaming in Spanish, pain, rage, or both. Marcus shoves Navarro toward a crouched shape behind the black Explorer. Ruiz's face flashes into view under the brim of her helmet. "Secure him!" Marcus barks. "He talks. We keep him breathing." Ruiz yanks Navarro in, pushes him down behind the wheel well, and snaps a second zip tie around his ankles. "Where's the worst of it?" Marcus asks, already scanning. She points with her chin toward the southern edge of the lot. Box truck, 8 hostiles dug in behind it. 2 with AKs, rest with pistols. They're working in pairs, laying down suppressive fire, then moving. SWAT can't close the distance without walking into a wall of lead. Marcus leans around the Explorer, takes a quick look. 50 yards out, the outline of a box truck looms against the fence. Muzzle flashes wink from beneath it and around its rear corners. Rounds ping off metal and spit chips of concrete near the federal positions. His team has better armor, better training, and better angles. But the men behind that truck are desperate, and desperation is a dangerous equalizer. "Who's running SWAT on this side?" Marcus asks. "Sergeant Chen," Ruiz replies. Marcus toggles to the tactical channel. "Chen, Hale. I see your problem. I need a distraction heavy enough to blind and deafen them. Flash and bang, full volley. I'll work a flank from the east wall. Give me 30 seconds to get in position, then you light them up." Chen's voice is as calm as if they were talking in a conference room. "Copy, Hale. 30 seconds on your mark. 6 devices prepped." Marcus hands his radio back to Ruiz, checks his Glock on instinct. He counts the dull brass in his mind. He's fired 4 rounds so far, leaving 11 in the magazine. Not enough for what he's about to attempt. He drops the mag, lets it slap into his palm, and swaps it for a full one from his belt. 15 rounds seated with a solid click. "Cover me until I hit the forklift at my 10 o'clock, he tells Ruiz. Short, controlled bursts. Make them keep their heads down. "Marcus," she starts. "I know," he cuts her off. "If I don't make it back, take Scout. He likes the cheap treats. Front left cabinet. There's no time for anything else." He explodes from behind the Explorer, sprinting across 30 yards of open concrete that might as well be a shooting gallery. His boots hammer the ground. Behind him, Ruiz and 2 nearby agents open up with disciplined pairs, aimed just high and wide of the box truck, a curtain of noise to make the gunman flinch. Bullets snap through the air with a sound like angry bees. One punches into the concrete 3 feet to his left, spraying his pants with dust and stone. He doesn't break stride. 20 yards, 15, 10. He dives the last few feet, sliding in behind a parked forklift as a burst of AK fire chews through the driver's seat where his head was a heartbeat earlier. Foam stuffing erupts and drifts in the air like dirty snow. His shoulder slams into the ground hard enough to send a jolt up his spine. Tomorrow he'll feel it. Tonight it's background noise. He presses his back against the forklift's steel frame and yells into the radio Ruiz is holding on his channel. 30 seconds starts now. Chen's response comes over the air a beat later. "On your mark, Hale." Marcus counts under his breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Timing the gun rhythm from behind the truck, feeling the pattern. When the shooting pauses for a reload, he barks, "Now!" The night erupts in white. 6 flashbang grenades arch from SWAT's position in shallow parabolas, clattering against asphalt and steel. For a microsecond, nothing happens. Then they detonate in brutal unison. Each device vomits 1.8 million candela of searing light and a concussive blast that hits the chest like a physical blow. Together they turn the south side of the lot into something brighter than noon and louder than a jet engine. The 8 cartel gunmen behind the truck react like anyone would. Instinctively, helplessly. They duck, clamp hands over ears, squeeze their eyes shut. For 2, maybe 3 seconds, their world is pain and confusion. Marcus uses every fraction of that window. He comes off the forklift and runs low along the warehouse wall, boots scraping concrete. 20 yards, 15, 10. His Glock is up, muzzle downrange, sights tracking the rear corner of the truck. He reaches it, slows to a deliberate walk, and slices the pie around the metal edge, exposing only as much of his body as necessary. 3 gunmen swim into view on the other side, still reeling from the flashbangs. One is barely more than a kid, 23 at most, with a baby face and an AK-47 hanging from a single-point sling across his chest. His eyes are squeezed shut, mouth open in a silent curse. As Marcus reaches the angle, the young man's instincts finally scream loud enough to push through the disorientation. His hands go for the rifle, dragging it up. Marcus fires twice in a smooth double tap. The pistol bucks in his hands, .40 caliber round slamming into the young man's chest center mass. The kid stumbles backward and crumples, the AK clattering uselessly to the ground. The second gunman turns toward the sound, a black pistol halfway raised. Marcus pivots, front sight finding the man's sternum. 3 pulls of the trigger. The world narrows to the rhythm of recoil and breath. The gunman staggers, drops to his knees, then folds sideways. The third man freezes, weapon halfway out of his waistband. His survival instinct wins the coin toss. He throws the pistol away and thrusts both hands into the air. "No despairs, me rindo," he screams, voice cracking. "Don't shoot, I surrender." On the ground, Marcus shouts the command automatic. "Face down, hands behind your head, al suelo." The man drops, sprawling flat, fingers laced visible. Marcus keeps the Glock trained on the back of his skull as he keys the radio with his offhand. 3 on this side, 2 down, 1 surrendered. I've got at least 5 more still active behind the truck. SWAT doesn't wait. On Marcus's call, a 4-man element that had been hugging the opposite corner surges forward, weapons up, moving as a single organism. They come around the other side of the box truck in a disciplined stack, muzzles tracking threats. The remaining sicarios, caught in a classic L-shaped ambush between Marcus and SWAT, see the writing on the wall. One tries to bring up his AK. Chen drops him with a controlled pair to the pelvis, taking the fight out of his legs instead of his life. The others throw down their weapons, hands shooting skyward. In less than 8 seconds, it's over. Adrenaline still howls in the air, but the gunfire has stopped. Chen's voice crackles over the channel. All hostiles at the box truck are secure. 4 surrendering, 2 down. Scene stable. Marcus's breathing starts to hitch now that the immediate threat is past. His vision widens back out from the tight tunnel of battle focus. He looks at the 2 men he just shot. One is motionless. The younger one, the kid with the sling, still twitches, sucking ragged breaths that sound like air being pulled through a wet sponge. Marcus moves in, kicks the fallen AK well out of reach, and drops to one knee. He presses both hands over the entry wounds, feeling hot blood soaking his gloves. Training kicks in, pressure, airway, breathing. But some part of him knows, even as he moves, that these hits were true. Center mass from this distance with this caliber rarely leaves room for miracles. The young man's eyes find Marcus's face. They're wide, confused, more scared than angry. He tries to speak, but blood bubbles at the corner of his mouth instead of words. "Lo siento," Marcus says quietly, Spanish from another lifetime rolling off his tongue. "I'm sorry." He means it. He doesn't know this kid's name, doesn't know his story, doesn't know what shoved him into a cartel gunfight on the edge of Phoenix. He only knows that a few seconds ago, this young man was an active threat to dozens of lives. Now he's a dying 20-something whose choices have run out. The breaths get shallower. Then they stop. The medic who hustles up a moment later confirms what Marcus already knows. Time of death, 12:34 a.m. Across the lot, the last echoes of resistance are being stamped out. Homeland Security agents report runners in the desert intercepted and tackled under the helicopter's spotlight. 11 more taken without further shots fired. Phoenix PD announces the north side secure, 14 cartel members on their knees with zip ties already in place. Inside the warehouse, agents herd out a dozen chemists and halcones who never picked up weapons at all, their hands raised, faces stunned. ATF techs circle the chemical drums with instruments and sample kits, checking for booby traps and volatile mixtures. Their verdict comes back clean. No explosives, just an ocean of precursors that will never become pills. By 12:47 a.m., The radio traffic settles into clipped, almost anticlimactic updates. All clear. Site secure. Medical en route. 67 cartel operatives, every last one, are accounted for. 63 alive and in custody. 4 zipped into black bags. On the federal side, 1 agent with a through-and-through wound to the left forearm, 2 with minor cuts from flying debris, 1 SWAT officer nursing a sprained ankle from a hard landing on the fast rope. 0 agents killed. Marcus lets that statistic land for 3 slow breaths. Then he stands up, holsters his weapon with a hand that finally starts to tremble, and walks back toward the command post. Gratitude and guilt ride side by side in his chest. The math is ugly but undeniable. 2 lives taken tonight by his hand. Dozens, maybe hundreds, saved down the line by what didn't leave this warehouse. For now, though, there's no time to sit with any of it. There are statements to take, scenes to lock down, a high-value defector in a SWAT van waiting to talk. The operation isn't over just because the shooting stopped, and the real questions, the ones about what any of this truly costs, haven't even started yet.